Let's go to Vidarbha first. I'll take you through the vote share and seat share numbers for this remember, this is largely where it is a BJP versus Congress battle. This is where the India Alliance did well in the Lok Sabha elections. The question is, has the BJP been able to recover ground and to what extent? SWOT predicts that in the Vidarbha region, it's a dead heat, 41 versus 40. In their poll, the India Alliance has 40% of the vote share, the NDA has 41, just a 1% gap. Converted into seats. Take a look, coming up on your screen the first time. Remember, India Alliance starts 2024 with a big lead. That, though, is now coming down to a lead of just 5. The NDA at 18, the India Alliance 23, with 16 out of 60 seats being too close to call. So 16 out of 60, he says, are within the margin of error, so he'd rather not take a risk. He's leaving them on the side. Yashwant Deshmukh, 23 seats for the India Alliance, 18 for the NDA, 5. So you're really, right now the scoreline is 3-2. 3-2 in favor of the India Alliance. But Rajdeep, talk a bit about Vidarbha and the fact that here, Yashwant is predicting a 5-seat lead for the India Alliance with 16 seats too close to call.
Look, this is out of the lot that I've seen, apart from Mumbai, one of the bigger results. This result, with 16 seats too close to call, gives the India Alliance some hope. The India Alliance has to build its strategy, particularly the Congress around Vidarbha and Marathwada. Those were the two regions. If they can get an edge over the NDA in these two regions, then they have some chance of preventing the NDA of reaching the magic number of 144. So if these numbers hold, let's assume that they get at least half the seats of Vidarbha, and we assume that there will be some independents also winning there, then the NDA's challenge is to score big somewhere else. At the moment, the only big score they've got is in Mumbai and in North Maharashtra. So you're actually seeing, based on 4 regions, almost a dead heat. This is now an election. If Yashwant's numbers are there, they're very different to many of the other outlier polls which are predicting a huge win for the Mahayuti. That's the fascinating part.
Sahil, let's leave the numbers aside just for a second. You've been speaking to all the key political players. Give us the political buzz from within Maharashtra. Who's saying what? Who's looking more confident and who's seeming nervous?
Nervous and nobody is confident, and at the same time nobody has a clue that who is actually going to win, because the margins according to them are going to be quite low, and that is the reason why nobody is actually predicting this time before 23rd that they are going to win. Even if some people do think that the women voters are going to be on their side. The Mahayuti leaders, whenever I speak to, they are totally dependent on the women voters. So they are desperately waiting for the data from the election commission, which will clear their mind whether the women voters have come out large in numbers. I've been speaking to some key players from the Mahayuti, and they are saying in their own constituencies, for the first time they are seeing that the women voters and the male voters are almost at equal level, and that is going to give them an edge of at least 5% more vote share than that of Mahavikas Aghadi. If that comes, then it looks like that the things will be tilted towards Mahayuti, especially in Vidarbha. As we are speaking about that, I could clearly see that the Mahayuti, specifically the BJP, really picked up well after the Lok Sabha. After the Lok Sabha losses, they were completely the heart fallen, and they thought that they will never be able to recover, because the traditional vote bank of the Congress, they found that are being now voting back to the Congress. But the assembly gave them a chance, and they, after Ladki Behen scheme, after the Ladki Behen scheme, then they again started picking up the things, and they had a better election management. So specifically in the districts where in Lok Sabha elections, they were trailing in all 6 assembly segments. Now it looks like that the BJP has picked up well, and that is how they are hoping that they will be able to cross the mark of 90 seats out of 148 is what they are hoping at this point of time. So it's going to be really tough to call, and that's why we are seeing a lot of seats even in Vidarbha too close to call even in this survey. So that makes it very interesting. I can see at this point of time, Rahul.
Because Rahul, it would also technically mean, because the Vidarbha region was where the maximum agrarian distress is. So if you're talking about soya bean, the political crop, all of that then falls on the wayside. then it is actually the women have voted as women and not so much as the identity of a farmer, even with these numbers. Because this is where was the heart of the agrarian distress. And on the flip side, what we did notice on ground, the Congress's candidate selection is something that was deeply criticized, where East Vidarbha is concerned, too many seats which were given to UBT, Shiv Sena. Would that be the weak link? What needs to be seen there?
Let's now come to Konkan. Wrap this up because lots of messages I'm getting about time laga. Jaldi batao. So we don't want to go too fast, but we will give you the data. This is C-voter data for Konkan. We'll take you through the Konkan vote shares. And remember, as I said, in Yashwant's data, each region is swinging wildly. He's actually showing the NDA at 45, the India Alliance 8% behind at 37. So a big lead, a big lead here for the NDA in Konkan when it comes to vote share. Let's now convert this into seats and show you how Konkan is likely to vote. According to C-Voter and Yashwant Deshmukh's team, in the 39 seats of Konkan, the NDA will have 20, the India Alliance will have 8, others will have 2. 9 seats, he says, are too close to call. Rajdeep, if this is the way the cookie crumbles on the 23rd of November, we're going to have a very long day. You know, the India Today group has this big Sahitya Aaj Tak thing happening. I think, we'll be making history in the studio, not getting to see any Shero Shairi. Isn't that the day you've got something happening with Gulzar? So Gulzar specifically requested, I'll only do this if Rajdeep comes and does this with me.
We have an event where we are giving him a Lifetime Achievement Award, well deserved at Sahitya Aaj Tak. So
you have a session with him as well.
I have a session with him. But
you know any Gulzar poetry?
I know film. I told him this. I said, sir, I've watched all your films. I'm not a poetry. I haven't heard all your poetry. But he said, no, we have to do it. So we'll do it. I mean, he's 90. Wow. And so it'll be great to ask him. But more seriously here.
But it's a real problem. We'll be stuck in the studio.
You're welcome. Yeah, but I actually think...
All the best then, Preeti.
Look, there are two kinds of polls coming out. One which are suggesting, as you said, and I think Yashwant's poll is clearly putting that out there, which is that it is a very tight contest. And other polls are suggesting a landslide for Mahayuti. To my mind, the real indicator, if this evening, you tell me late this evening, women have polled 5% more than they did in Lok Sabha, I will go with the landslide group. If on the other hand, it is virtually the same as Lok Sabha, I will say it is seat by seat and it could go on for a very long time. What have we seen so far? Vidarbha, advantage India Alliance. Western Maharashtra, advantage India Alliance. Marathwada, advantage India Alliance. Between these three regions, there are 180 seats. They account for 180 of the 288 seats. In normal times, if I am dominating 3 of the large regions, I will be ahead of my competitor. The competitor is winning where? The BJP-led alliance is leading in Mumbai, 36 seats. It's leading in Konkan, 38, at that 74. And it's leading in North Maharashtra. I think you've included Ahmednagar there as well. So it's a larger thing. But basically, about 118. So in the 118 block, it's advantage, or 108 block actually, it's advantage to the Mahayuti. In the 180 block, and I'm including Ahmednagar there, is advantage Mahavikas Aghadi. So Yashwant Deshmukh is the poll that I'm sure the opposition will hold on to. Because frankly, in general otherwise, you would believe that based on women voters coming out in larger numbers, it is advantage, and I've been saying this, I believe if the Mahayuti wins, they'll win in a sweep. If it's a close contest, Mahavikas Aghadi
what
has
are
as
you
much
feeling?
of a chance
Is
as
it
Mahayuti.
like a swing election, or is it, as Yashwant seems to suggest, an election in every region and every seat?
Sahil's going to just smile through it.
Well, no, I think I will agree with Rajdeep because I am eagerly waiting for the Election Commission's data, specifically after the vote percentage for the first time after so many years have increased by 6 to 7%. I mean, it is likely that it will reach up to 67% when we will get refurbished data from the Election Commission by tonight. I would really want to see whether the women voters have voted more than that of the male voters, because till now the difference between the male voters and women voters in Maharashtra has always been 4 to 5%. If that gap has been filled by the women voters, that means the women voters have come out in large numbers, and if they have come out in large numbers, there has to be a specific reason why they have come out to vote for. And the Ladki Behen scheme, it will be like a textbook scheme henceforth, that before every election, the incumbent government may think of putting up that
but it hasn't worked. That's the point. If you look at If you look at Andhra, it didn't work because it's not that the YSRCP didn't offer the scheme. It didn't work in Telangana, where the BRS offered a similar scheme.
But
so what is it in Maharashtra
I
that is
agree.
actually making the women come out and vote in large numbers such as this?
Sahil.
No. That is really interesting. You know, even it didn't work. It didn't work in many other places, but it worked in Madhya Pradesh. So why it worked in Maharashtra? You know, at least what I think is that the way the government, the incumbent government, bombarded the people with their prachar and the advertisement campaigns, the three leaders toured the state and all that stuff, and at the same time, the Mahavikas Aghadi couldn't counter that particular scheme. You know, they first came up with a remark that this is going to burden the Maharashtra exchequer. They started saying that it's not a bheek, but then they realized that the scheme is picking up. So they had to counter it by announcing that we will be giving you double. So, you know, Mahayuti actually put them in the box. They put them, the Mahavikas Aghadi couldn't counter it the way they could. And the secondly, most importantly, that I've seen the Congress's campaign. Most of the time, the Congress repeated what they were trying to say during the Lok Sabha elections. And maybe that has gone against the Congress, the way they could have performed
did you see
better.
that the Congress was
But
playing
that,
catch up?
if you use the
because the 3,000 where they said they were going to increase that scheme, you know, to 3,000 rupees, that announcement came too late in the day. They were, you know, following up on the narrative which was already being set by the Mahayuti.
But you see, you've seen that even in Madhya Pradesh.
Exactly.
You will recall in Madhya Pradesh also, Kamal Nath said, if they're, you know, I'll give them more. Once a narrative, you know, Maharashtra, a woman told me something interesting. They were working in a small textile handloom factory in Wardha. And I asked all, paise miale ka? Ho. But tumhala Congress will give double. No, but paise miale. So the person who gives it to you, it's cash in hand. You see, it is the first mover advantage. You've got your cash in hand. Shivraj Singh Chauhan was giving money already. In fact, he gave money even the last installment 1 week before the elections, you will recall, of the Ladki Behen. So once I've got cash in hand, the promise of 3,000 rupees is not as attractive. Plus the nature of your campaign. I think Sahil hit the nail on the head. You can't come and wave your constitution copy that you waved so successfully in the Lok Sabha, again in the Vidhan Sabha. This is a Vidhan Sabha election. Constitution, Samvidhan khatre mein hai, could have worked once. What you needed was to offer clearly on agrarian distress, clearly on Mehengai, clearly on the real issues hurting, and come up with a solid campaign for 2 months. I mean, how often did the senior Congress leaders go to Maharashtra? You can't flit in and out. I mean, I maintain August, September, October, you should have been out there, yatras, working hard. RSS leader told me today, we did 60,000 meetings. 60,000 meetings, and he told me something interesting which has stuck in my mind. I said, sir, how large were the meeting? He said, 100, 150 log, 200 log. Ye bade meetings se kuch nahi hota.
That's what I said yesterday. If with her, these numbers hold, a lot of that has to do with the RSS as well.
Yeah, so he rang me up, in fact, to say that. He said, in all your analysis, you're giving credit to everyone else. How about giving some credit to us for the work we've been doing?
Sahil, go on.
No, I want to make a point here. You know, what it looked like is that Mahayuti decided to be prepared this time. You know, they knew that what they are going to face after Lok Sabha defeat. And they started preparing themselves to counter the narrative which was built up during the Lok Sabha elections. Whereas the Mahavikas Aghadi, they thought that now, you know, it's given. The verdict is given, and they thought that they will be able to bounce back again during the assembly elections. And I think that's where they faulted, and that's why we are seeing at least a close contest. Otherwise, it would have been one-sided Mahavikas Aghadi. Also,
okay, before
most importantly,
yes.
you know, Rahul.
No, before we go and show our viewers the Pan-Maharashtra numbers, I want to get in a word from Krishna Hegde, spokesperson of the Shinde Sena. Sachin Ahir joins us, member of the Maharashtra Legislative Council, has been a minister in the Maharashtra government of the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray faction, and Anish Gawande joins us from the Sharad Pawar faction of the NCP. I want to go across to Sachin Ahir first. You know, what comes out in the data, it seems, is that the Uddhav Thackeray Sena could potentially be the weak link. And if these exit poll numbers pan out this way on the 23rd, questions will be asked about whether Shinde Sena scored and the future of whatever is left with Uddhav Thackeray.
No, I guess in this election campaign, we were more keen how much we are going to get, rather than that how we are going to win as a Mahavikas Aghadi. Now, with what analysis you have been showing, Vidarbha they are gaining, we are gaining, like Congress is gaining. But if you see when it comes to Marathwada, we have a stronghold there. No doubt in Konkan you are showing we are not. But when it comes to Mumbai, let me not tell you, and the people also who have been voted in the Lok Sabha also have been consolidated. Let's not go on the exit polls and have a debate, and hypothetically if you say, I personally feel what numbers we were there in last time, we'll gain something. So what our analysis and our trackers say, we may sail through around about 45 to 50 seats. Now, the main reason behind that is this, our stronghold, which was Mumbai. Yes, I think we are going ahead on that. When it comes to exit polls, you are showing some deferment, but I don't think so that is the reality. Let us see on 23rd what happens. And as Shail was saying, the percentage of the Mahila voters, it is the other way around also. The same Mahila who is the Ladki Behen, why this scheme was being introduced? Scheme was introduced after the Lok Sabha elections. How it is impacted? The same Mahila is also a farmer. The same Mahila has a job, as a boy or a person in the house is unemployed also. So these also factors will also work. And what we saw on the ground, a lot of Mahila who had got the benefit of the scheme was still coming in large numbers in our rallies. So I think we can't deny that. So we have to see what is the mood and where is the swing going to go on. And we
Anish Gawande, what's very clear is that while in different regions there are different images emerging, the advantage quite clearly seems to be towards the Mahayuti. You'd really be hoping against hope, like India was against New Zealand in the recently concluded Test series. You know it's tough, but you hope you can pull something off. It really is for the Mahavikas Aghadi going to feel like that Test series.
Exit polls are injurious to health, so I partake in them sparingly and with immense caution. I think the ones that you've shown here at least give us an edge in Western Maharashtra and Marathwada, whereas those that were shown yesterday seem to have us trailing so badly that you'd try to forget that we even ran an election campaign in the state. I'll answer that very simply, right? I think in two ways. One is that the voter increase and the voter turnout increase that we've seen across the state has been incredibly uneven. I was just going through the numbers of which seats have seen what percentage increase in voter turnout, or in some cases almost 50 seats have seen a decrease in voter turnout, at least until now. And you'll see that picture looks very different across Maharashtra. And I think what that points to quite critically, and I've said this earlier as well, is that you're not seeing an overall narrative working across the state. So it's not like Ladki Behen has worked across the state and suddenly more women are coming out and voting, or you've not seen a particular sort of impetus to vote coming in particular regions. Now, what that means is that this is an incredibly hyper-local election. And I think while you are right to point out that the RSS has been participating fully in this election, let's not forget Pawar Sahib, who since the middle of September, held 100 rallies himself. And then Jayant Patilji was off in another direction with the Janasangha, with the Shiva Swarajya Yatra. There were other leaders across the state going in different directions. So I think at the local level, this has been an incredibly well-fought election. And I think the turnout game, ensuring that your voters get to the polling booth, will make the seat
But Anish,
difference.
there are,
and I think
Anish, you contested 87 seats. There are 201 other seats which your allies contested. Yes, Sharad Pawar was out and about. But whenever you heard from the Uddhav Thackeray Sena for a long time, it was, please announce chief minister. For 1 month you all spent, we want a chief ministerial face. When you should have been out there among the people. The Congress party also was seemingly waiting for directions from their high command. So you all wasted the months of September and October. Then Haryana happened. There was a demoralization in the Congress party. So surely if these numbers hold, if the Mahayuti wins after having lost so badly in the Lok Sabha, will there be any introspection, or will you again say, no, I hope you don't blame EVMs, for example?
No, we've never believed in blaming EVMs, and we've never believed in not taking lessons from an electoral loss. But I'm sure that come 23rd November, we'll be celebrating the same way that we did on the 4th of June. Because I think the local area campaign is what mattered. I agree with you. Has there been a significant delay? Was there a significant delay in hitting the ground on behalf of the alliance? Of course. But coalition politics makes for great television and for great bickering as well. And I think this was on both sides.
But the bickering played out on national television, Anish, and Sachin are here. In retrospect, if you look at these numbers on Vidarbha, rather myopic on your part to haggle for those 15 seats in East Vidarbha? Possibly given it to Nana Patole, the Congress had a better chance there?
You know, I think the individual seat sharing is definitely a matter of concern, I think, on both sides. You know, I think there's definitely been concerns around why some seats were given where. But the reality is that our vote transfer has historically been better than the Mahayuti. So even though the seat might not have gone to, say, the alliance partner who was most poised to win, the reality is that that vote transfer has happened fairly seamlessly in the Lok Sabha. And I see no reason as to why it won't happen again in the Vidhan Sabha.
No, but do you think that the vote, the women voters have become very key? Because, you know, most of the time we have seen that it's not necessary that women voters will vote on the political issues. And we have seen it in many other states as well. So that's the X factor in Maharashtra, and that's why we are seeing, you know, results like this, or the exit polls like this, or at least the predictions like this.
You know, I'd love a gender breakdown of the exit poll results as well before we get the EC turnout results on that exit poll. But as far as I can see, there was a significant uptick in women sort of being incredibly enthusiastic about the scheme. The first thing you would have noticed across the board in all regions would be an increase in voter turnouts. You've not seen that. Some regions and some constituencies have seen a 10 to 12% voter turnout increase. Some have only seen a 1 to 2% voter turnout increase. Some have seen a sort of drop in those voter turnout percentages. So you're not seeing anything, at least until now. And of course, if the women who were already voting in the Lok Sabha elections have changed their minds dramatically in the Vidhan Sabha elections, which is entirely possible, because I can't deny the success of this scheme, then there isn't enough evidence right now to prove that women as a whole have come out and voted in larger numbers. Whether they
have the women
votes, I don't think
male
so.
data with me, so let me give our viewers a sense of how C-Voter says the data plays out. What's very interesting is that amongst male voters, the India Alliance has a 3% advantage. Amongst male, listen to this carefully. Amongst male voters, India Alliance is at 43, NDA is at 40. Among women voters, however, NDA is at 42 and the India bloc is at 36.4. Look at that on your screen right now. This is one of the most significant aspects of this poll. You know, some of the seat conversions can potentially be wrong, but the sample is robust enough to pick preferences. Amongst male voters, you've got the Mahayuti just slightly ahead over the MVA. Amongst female voters, the lead is much more. So amongst female voters, the lead is much more, and that is how the data looks for Maharashtra. So very substantial lead there, Rajdeep, for the Mahayuti amongst women voters. 49.1% of women voters said they voted NDA. 36.4% of women voters said they voted for the India bloc. Amongst the males, the India bloc was actually in front.
So among women voters, it's a 6% edge. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a 6% edge.
Almost 6.
I wrote a piece for IndiaToday.com a month ago saying Ladki Behen is the X factor. You see, it is clear when you are... Maharashtra is facing rural distress. When you face rural distress, the average a family gets is less than 20,000 a month. That's what a family is getting. So they were all within Ladki Behen. Interestingly, in Ladki Behen, you could have 2 members within the family, not just 1.
3 also. I met a family, Rajdeep, where there were 3 women, and all 3 of them in the same family, which got, you know, when he clubbed it together and he gave both the payouts together, and they actually got together and started a small business. So you see, with that small money.
There's somebody else, of course, who said, a lady who said, we've gone for a pizza party in Thane. But either way, the fact is that when I am earning 20,000 rupees a month and I suddenly have got 7,500 extra, including a Diwali bonus, it makes a huge difference. Now, I may not express it when the TV camera comes in. I may not necessarily, I will also speak about Mehengai. But then I look at the two, and I think, Rahul, the mistake, if these numbers hold and the Mahayuti does win, is because the MVA didn't give me a positive agenda. You see, you can't all the time speak, ye gaddar hai, ye chor hai, ye isne humko betray kiya. This is my sense. Along with what, you can say all that, but give me also a positive agenda. Whether you're going to attack someone for Adani, whether you're going to do Gaddar, Gujarati, all of that is negative politics. I think sometimes you have to balance negative with a positive campaign as to what you will do. If I was Uddhav Thackeray, I would have focused on how well did I handle COVID, right? You should have gone out there and spoken about it. What did I do during COVID times? If you are Sharad Pawar, give your track record on agriculture. What have you done over the years on agriculture? If you are the Congress party, give me a plan that Rahul Gandhi was talking about, minimum support price. By the time you spoke about it, it was virtually the end of the campaign. So my point is, if these numbers hold, and I still maintain it's if, I think the opposition must realize negative campaigns
From
work
being
some
a
of the
T20 batsman in the Haryana elections, Rajdeep Sardesai now being a test batsman in Maharashtra, wanting to leave every ball. Well, chhod do, isko nahi maarna.
No,
Just being careful.
Rahul, clip this. I said this yesterday. I'm saying this again today. I said it yesterday. Either it's a huge sweep for the Mahayuti, or a seat-by-seat contest which could go down to the wire. I don't see Mahavikas Aghadi, I have maintained this, crossing 144 on their own. They would need independents and smaller parties. I see scenarios where Mahayuti could go 175, 180 plus, because these numbers show me one state, Rahul, in the last 10 years. Let's do that. One state in the last 10 years where the party which has got more women votes has lost. I can't think of a single state where the party which has got more women votes has lost. Parties which have got male votes more have lost.
So at
because
this
it is
rate,
giving them
this rate, Rahul, BJP, Modi and Bhagwatji will have to settle down for a women president of BJP.
Because
the way women voters are getting importance.
No, you'll have to do lots more.
No,
You have to
6%
do lots
vote
more,
share.
yes.
But Sheila,
6%
always
lead.
the,
Sorry,
always
one
the
more
kingmaker,
time, yeah.
never quite the king. Look at the representation in each of these political parties on tickets given to women candidates. Absolutely, there is zero representation.
No, in
As a vote bank, you want to leverage
Maharashtra
them.
never had a woman chief minister. Preeti should be sitting in my chair soon instead of me, but go ahead.
6% lead amongst women mean 3% vote share lead. So despite a 3% lead of MVA amongst males, net there is a 1.5% lead because of this gender gap, this gender voting more for Mahayuti versus the
That's
MVA.
right. So
that's the edge. That is the edge.
I mean, if these numbers hold, and this is, I think, the one consistent theme across all polls, women have polled more for the Mahayuti than the MVA. I would say, unless something happens very, very drastically differently on polling day, huge advantage to the Mahayuti, and a lesson perhaps to all politicians. Without the woman voter today, Rahul, you cannot win an election. It's the secret of why Jayalalitha would triumph despite adversity. It's the secret of Mamata Banerjee. It's the secret of Nitish Kumar. It's the secret of Shivraj Singh Chauhan. You know, you don't have to be a woman politician to get the woman voter. Narendra Modi ji also has tended to get a strong performance among women voters. And we've seen that in Gujarat, we've seen that in national elections as well.
It's conditional,
Sorry?
Rajdeep.
You need huge fund to distribute amongst women voters.
No, I mean, you see, you know, one thing you're doing is funny, but Karnataka, free bus rides that were provided became a huge issue in Karnataka, Siddaramaiah. And remember, Siddaramaiah at that time moved very quickly on the 500 rupees gas cylinder. He was the first mover. You see, when you move first, then you have the advantage of telling people, ye to mujhe follow kar rahe hain. Congress then, when you said 3,000 for Mahalakshmi, you were following the 1,500 of Ladki Behen. So, it's not easy. You know, to play catch up. But I think to the great credit of the Mahayuti, if these numbers hold, they got their act together after the Maharashtra.
One of the big winners
Lok Sabha.
would be the Shinde Sena. Krishna Hegde is the spokesperson of the Shiv Sena's Shinde faction. If these numbers come through, you know, would you be anxious that if the BJP gets too many beyond 90, they may want to install Devendra Fadnavis or one of their own men as chief minister? You would have done well, helped the NDA win, but may not end up with your man being the CM.
I think that's okay. We'll wait for the election results, and after that, the High Command of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the Parliamentary Board, and the three leaders of the Mahayuti from Maharashtra will decide. And that is not much of a concern because we are not bickering like the Congress and the Uddhav Thackeray, who are not going to come in power, but already started bickering since yesterday as to who will be the CM candidate. First, let me tell you that, you know, in the last Lok Sabha elections, the difference between the Mahayuti and the Mahavikas Aghadi was 0.3% of votes, and 2 lakh 60,000 votes in total. And this time, if you look at the percentage of votes in any of the surveys, in the voting share, we are much ahead of the Mahavikas Agadi. And therefore, it's a clear-cut victory for us, whether we are going to win in a landslide or whether we are going to form a government with the independents. There is no way the Mahavikas Agadi is going to come to power for sure. That is a certainty. That is what I can say. Secondly, we went with the manifesto, and we gave not only the manifesto of our alliance, but also we gave a vision for Maharashtra for the future 5 years, which these people lacked. They only did a cut copy paste of our manifesto and went before the people with a lot of negativity. Even the huge, game changer of a scheme called the Ladki Behen, when we announced it, and you were right, each family is not getting 1,500, but even 3,000 and 4,500 rupees a family per month, which is a huge number for a poor family in rural Maharashtra. These people went to court, and I think they tried to oppose the scheme. And I think it is like hitting your own hammer on your own foot when you do that, because firstly you talk about
So it's also, Mr. Hegde, going to cost the state a hell of a lot. You've got a state with a 7 lakh crore debt. Yes, you probably might win an election on it, but it's bad economics. You will agree that you're spending large amounts which you could just as easily be spending in more productive areas, health, education, job creation.
Rajiv, let me answer that. Today, Maharashtra is a $500 billion economy going towards a $1 trillion economy. And today, Maharashtra, unlike in their regime, the Uddhav Thackeray regime, today we are number one in industry, commerce, agriculture, education, and wherever. And therefore, we can afford the schemes which we are giving. And 46,000 crores, if we can do so many good infrastructure projects in Mumbai itself, we are doing around 3 to 4 lakh crores of infrastructure projects. And I'm sure for the entire women folk of Maharashtra, for our sisters, we can at least spend 46,000 crores. Even if we increase the amount to 2,100 per month, we'll be spending close to 60,000 crores. So it is a very well thought of scheme. Maharashtra can afford this scheme.
That's not the wrong way. That's a facile way of presenting it. You can find the money for this scheme, but the money will be at the cost of other development infrastructure projects. Of course, you can, if you pick one scheme and want to go all out to back that, you'll find the money to do so. But there will be development projects about where money is spent. I think that is the critical issue. And Prime Minister Modi so far was very determined that money has to be spent on resources which have the highest multiplier factor, where it leads to conversion into new jobs, leads to more infrastructure, and therefore has a ripple effect on the economy. So I have to show you the Pan-Maharashtra details from the Sea Voter poll, but we also want to show you the SWOT analysis of the chief ministerial candidates, because remember, it's not quite clear who will be the chief minister once the results come out on the 23rd. And you only have the 24th and the 25th and the 26th to form the new government, because on the 27th, if there is no government, there will be president's rule imposed in Maharashtra. So there's literally 72 hours, T20 style. So let's do an X factor, a SWOT analysis of the different chief ministerial candidates, and then we can speak to our guests about who has a better chance and why. I'll start with Eknath Shinde. Remember, his big strength, of course, is that he's the incumbent chief minister and therefore is at some time in power to establish himself in a pan-state capacity as the incumbent chief minister. He's been extremely hard-working, works till late into the night. Unlike the previous chief minister who was accused of being aloof and not easily available, he's been very hard-working. The Ladki Behen welfare scheme is seen as being a game changer. He is a prominent Maratha face. Unlike Devendra Fadnavis, who was a Brahmin face, he's a Maratha face, and therefore in a state where Marathas are important, that goes to his credit. These are his strengths. From there, let's now go to weaknesses. He's dependent on the BJP's crutches for survival. There's not much of a party if you take the BJP out of the equation. There are allegations of opportunism which hurt the Shinde Sena during the Lok Sabha elections when the MVA did well. It will be important to see what happens in these assembly elections. And then there are corruption charges against many of the people who came with him, with charges of lots of khokas, which is what led them to actually switching sides from the Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray Sena. The opportunity is, if he does well, then in some ways he becomes Maharashtra's Nitish Kumar, where you can't form a government without him. That he does so well that even if the BJP has the numbers, there can't be a situation where he's not in an important role and arguably in the role of chief minister. It also solidifies the gains of the Shinde Sena at the expense of the Mahavikas Aghadi, and he becomes the predominant Maratha face in a post-Sharad Pawar generation. The big threat for him, though, is that if the BJP does incredibly well, they could push their own man as chief minister. If the BJP saw power, they may say, hey, we don't really need you because you've got Shinde Sena and the Ajit Pawar faction of the NCP. We can play off against each other. The fear also for him could be that public sympathy rests with Uddhav Thackeray, and if he doesn't do too well and doesn't have a very high strike rate, some of the MLAs who do win may decide to strike back. Remember, Rajdeep, when we met Uddhav Thackeray in Mumbai, he was saying that several of, in his estimate, several of the Shinde Sena MLAs were desperate to come back. He said, I don't want them because ye gaddar hai, but in his telling of the story, they wanted to come back and join him.
If they win, and again, as I keep saying, if there will be two big heroes in Maharashtra for the Mahayuti, Eknath Shinde and Devendra Fadnavis. Fadnavis, who after threatening to resign or offering to resign, really made the effort to get the BJP back on course. And Eknath Shinde, who's literally come in as a relatively unknown quantity 2.5 years ago, but has rephrased CM to common man. You see, if I open the doors of Varsha, I met him, I interviewed him at 3:45 a.m. in the morning.
3:45 a.m.
At 3:45 a.m. in the morning, trust me, there were 250 people there. 250, out of which 200 were Muslims who had come from Thane because they had some work with him. And the door was open. Now, you know, there are critics who say Maharashtra CM must run the office like a CEO. That you must be available on the time you give. He gives you a time of midnight, he'll meet you at 3.
Or he may not meet you at all.
Well, no, he'll meet me, but he may not meet some people at all. But he's available. He's available. He's a common man. He has redefined CM. You see, auto rickshaw, it's a great life story. Like Prime Minister Modi played his life story, coming back from Vadnagar to becoming the Prime Minister of the country. Eknath Shinde is saying, I was an auto rickshaw driver. Every auto rickshaw driver I met in Thane had a sense of pride when you asked him about Eknath Shinde. And he has been nicely packaged by his people around him to give the sense that here is someone who is working for the welfare while the Thackerays were working for family. They try to contrast that. Now, I'm not saying that has worked because that the numbers will say, but if it has, then it's a huge credit to him. He took away the MLAs. People said, ye paise par le liya. Now, if you've taken the people, then even the stain of, of Khoke is gone. I didn't hear this time Panna's Khoke ekdam okay resonating like it did 6 months ago. Now people are talking.
Okay.
So I think Shinde is a big player. Whether he can become, I see, Rahul, if the BJP gets more than 90 or 100, they'll demand the chief ministership. They're not going to give up the chief ministership of Maharashtra this time so easily. But on the other hand, Eknath Shinde has made himself indispensable if he gets such a big victory.
The other man who could be chief minister is Devendra Fadnavis. So let's just spend a moment talking about Devendra Fadnavis, because the Mahayuti is in the lead, and we've already heard murmurs from within the BJP that the cadre, the leader, want their own man as chief minister. Not very happy that somebody who comes from a much smaller party actually gets to be chief minister. So he's got administrative experience, even though he's relatively young as a politician. He's seen as a seasoned leader, is the BJP's main face in Maharashtra, and the BJP currently the most important party because the other opponents have been weakened by defections. His weakness is that he comes from the numerically insignificant Brahmin caste. All this jod-tod in Maharashtra has hurt his pro-development image. And frankly, as Deputy Chief Minister, a post he didn't initially want, his stature has diminished under Chief Minister Eknath Shinde's rule. The opportunity is that the BJP maximizes its strike rate, that it crosses the 100 figure, and if it does, he'll have reason to smile. He has Pan-Maharashtra name recall, and there is this strong desire, Rajdeep, from within the BJP, which you just alluded to, which would like to see Devendra Fadnavis as the next chief minister.
Remember, Maharashtra's only had one BJP chief minister in all these years. And it was one of those, for the longest time, it was one of their last frontiers that they wanted to breach. Bihar is the other one that they still haven't breached.
Bengal?
Devendra Fadnavis. Bengal, they haven't even won an election, but at least Bihar they won, but they had to ride on the coattails of Nitish Kumar. Devendra Fadnavis, first chief minister since Vasantrao Naik in the 1970s to complete a 5-year term. And then was riding high, but me Puna Yenar, was confident of winning, was betrayed, he believes, by the Shiv Sena, lost out. Then had that 1 week old government, which he's never really recovered from. Now is his chance. If they get, but for that, the interesting part is the numbers. You see, if the numbers are 150 or 140, right, which is also possible, our Yashwant C voter poll would suggest that the NDA at best would be in the range of 140 to 150.
So let's do that, because I have the magic pen with us as well, and I'll show you the big picture numbers from, there are other CM candidates as well, and we could go on for a long time, but I'm sure you also want to see what the big picture numbers for Maharashtra are. So coming up on your screen now, I'll start with vote share alliance-wise to give you a sense of how Maharashtra, according to Yashwant, is likely to vote. Remember, in the Lok Sabha elections, it was 43.3 versus 43.9, so about a 0.5% difference. C-Voter predicts that NDA will be at 41%, the India Alliance at 40%, and others at 19%. So 1% lead. Big leads and big variations in the regions, but at the state level, a 1% advantage for the NDA over the India Alliance. How does this vote share translate into seats? Let's show that to our viewers now. 112 clear leads for the NDA, putting it in position to be having a better chance of forming the next government. 104 for the India Alliance, with 61 seats too close to call. 61 seats out of 288 too close to call. 104 for the India Alliance, 112 for the NDA. That's C-Voters data. Rajdeep.
Now Yashwant has to tell us which region are these 61 seats from, because that will give you a fair idea again. But this indicates, this is the ideal situation for Eknath Shinde. If these are the numbers, Eknath Shinde is in pole position to become the next Chief Minister of Maharashtra, because he becomes indispensable. If, on the other hand, the BJP doesn't need to rely on a large faction, a large section of the Shiv Sena or NCP Ajit Pawar, then it is Fadnavis. Anything above 90 seats for the BJP, I think it's Fadnavis. Anything below 90 seats, I would say Eknath Shinde has a fair
Let's spend some time putting Amitabh in the dock now. So 61 seats too close to call. Give us your sense of how this could play out on counting day.
So see, if you see the 61 seats, almost half are in Vidarbha and Marathwada.
Correct.
Almost 28-ish. So those 20-ish will go, I think, 60-40 towards MVA, because they had the lead there. On an overall basis, still Yashwantji is saying that in Vidarbha and Marathwada, MVA has the lead. So of those, let's say 30, you give 18 and 12, let's say, or 18 and 10. Of the rest 32, it's likely to split 50-50 in the ratio, which is the overall tally which you have predicted. Which means that roughly 23-24 will go to 24-25 could go to Mahayuti, and the balance 35-ish could go to
Hung house there.
MVA.
So you're saying 35 for the MVA?
Yeah, because I am saying 60-40s, because large part of those seats
35,
are in
and you're saying how many on this side? About 25. 25 odd which are left. So you think it could be a Mahavikas Aghadi advantage if this base data is right?
Yes, because half of the seats are in Marathwada and Vidarbha, where Yashwantji is still showing a lead for
So
MVA.
Yashwant,
But it's a tight call. But if you add both the things, it's like 137 and 139, correct? So it's like a toss of a coin. It's like 50-50. Then you have the 19
then
or the
I want to
20
get elected as an independent in Maharashtra.
Then you have the independent.
Then I want to get elected as an independent in Maharashtra.
Maybe the Panas Khoke comes
Because it is not anybody edge. It is like then almost same seat tally for both. That is what is reflected even in the vote share. 41-40. You have 3 regions where MVA is leading. You have 3 regions where
that means
India
basically not just will we miss the Sahitya Aaj Tak on the 23rd, we'll also miss it on the 24th. So pura kaam kharab fir.
Possibly till assembly.
Look, I know this is the C-Voter poll, but if as early indications, if indications are now showing a large woman voter turnout, I am more inclined to go to the belief that it will be a big win. If the voter turnout is what is being claimed, what science seems to suggest also, that there is a large woman voter turnout, then anecdotally you would think the women give the huge advantage to the Mahayuti. If, on the other hand, as Preeti pointed out, large voter turnout in Marathwada, Vidarbha, then I don't know, because
That's
these
what the
were
heat map
the two
shows. I'm only
anti-incumbents.
looking at the heat map. If you look at it, Rajdeep. It shows large voter turnout in Marathwada. It shows large voter turnout in Western Maharashtra. It shows large voter turnout where the Adivasis, the tribal belt is concerned.
But 65 is the average voter turnout, out of which 60 is in urban and 70 is in rural.
No, but if you just
So rural has voted 10% more than urban, which is not unusual, but it is much higher than normal.
Sushma Andare joins us, deputy leader, spokesperson of the Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray faction of the Shiv Sena. What seems quite clear is that in summation, the Mahayuti seems to have the brighter chance. Probabilistically speaking, they are closer to the finishing line. If there are 112 clear leads for the Mahayuti versus 104 for the Mahavikas Aghadi and 61 seats up in the air and in balance, the Mahayuti has a lesser asking rate. So the strike rate they need in the marginal seats is lesser than the strike rate. You need a lot of things to go in your favor on Super Saturday if you are to win.
आप सब लोगों का डिस्कशन हम सुन रहे थे और थोड़ा महाराष्ट्र को जोड़ने के लिए और आपसे भी जुड़े रहने के लिए थोड़ा क्या कहेंगे उसे मैं थोड़ा एक मिडल वे से थोड़ा हिंदी में बात करना चाहूँगी। जिस तरह की चर्चाएं हो रही है और सी वोटर सर्वे आप जो दिखा रहे हो, हम आपको ज़रा याद दिला दें, आप हमसे बड़े महानुभाव हैं, लेकिन हम याद दिला दें कि लोकसभा के वक्त भी सी वोटर के सर्वे काफ़ी आए थे और तब कहा जा रहा था कि बीजेपी महाराष्ट्र में 45 प्लस करेगी और पूरे ऑल ओवर एंटायर कंट्री में वह 400 प्लस रहेगी, लेकिन ऐसे हुआ तो नहीं। महाराष्ट्र में वह 9 पर आकर थम गई थी। आज की तारीख में भी सी वोटर हो, चाणक्य हो, कोई बहुत सारे पोल है जो पोल दिखा रहे हैं कि महायुति का कैसे सीएम बनने वाला है, लेकिन मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि मैं कोई एसी में बैठकर काम करने वालों में से नहीं हूँ। मैं ग्राउंड रियलिटी पर काम करती हूँ, मैं रोज फील्ड में काम करती हूँ और जितना मैंने फील्ड में काम किया है प्रचार के दौरान, कम से कम 25 से 26 जिलों में अलग अलग कंस्टिट्यूंसी में मैं घूमी हूँ। उससे जो मुझे लगता है कि हाँ, नेक टू नेक फाइट जरूर आपको लग रही है, लेकिन इस बार यकीनन महाविकास आघाड़ी अपनी सरकार बना पाएगी।
पर सुषमा जी एक मिनट, जो बड़ा फैक्टर नजर आ रहा है वो है वुमेन वोटर, महिला वोटर। हम हर सर्वे में मैं देख रहा हूं महाराष्ट्र में महिला वोटर ज्यादातर यानी ज्यादा परसेंटेज से महायुति को वोट दे रही है। क्या आप मानती है कि अगर ये हुआ तो लाडकी बहन एक बड़ा फैक्टर होगा? आप मानती है, आप कह रही हैं आप लोगों से जुड़ती है और मैं जानता हूं आप लोगों में जाती हैं, क्या आप मानती है?
सर मैं आपको बता दूं कि लाडली बहन जो इनको याद आई थी लोकसभा के बाद, वो जुमला था, वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ चुनावी प्रभाव बनाने के लिए था। ये सारी चीजें सबको पता है, लेकिन उसके पश्चात जो महाराष्ट्र में बदलापुर की घटना घटी थी और बदलापुर के बाद वैसी ही 17 जो हादसे हैं जो पूरे महाराष्ट्र में हुए थे, उसके बाद यहाँ की महिलाएं जो उनका जो कहना था कि हमें आपका महीना 1500 नहीं चाहिए, हमें हमारी सुरक्षा ज्यादा जरूरी है। तो सुरक्षा के मामले में आपको जो 59% का जो वोटिंग परसेंटेज जो बढ़ा हुआ दिख रहा है, यह जो वोटिंग परसेंटेज है इसमें मुंबई का वोटिंग परसेंटेज 4% बढ़ा हुआ है सर, और बाकी का जो वोटिंग परसेंट है वह रूरल एरिया में ज्यादा है। हम आपको जरा बता दें कि महाराष्ट्र में अगर आज की तारीख में बहुत ज्यादा निर्णायक जिसे हम कहते हैं वह निर्णायक वोट अगर किसी का होगा तो वो किसानों का होगा, क्योंकि महाराष्ट्र में इन्होंने कितना भी कटेंगे बटेंगे कहा। जैसे कि आपने लाडली बहन का जिक्र किया, अगर लाडली बहन बहुत अच्छे से पर्कुलेट हो जाती थी तो इनको कटेंगे बटेंगे लाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती थी। यहाँ लाडली बहन नहीं वह पर्कुलेट हो पाई, इसीलिए तो उनको कटेंगे बटेंगे करना पड़ा। लेकिन महाराष्ट्र की जनता ने उन्हें बिल्कुल उनके मुंह पर कहा है कि ना यहाँ का हिंदू खतरे में है, ना यहाँ का मुसलमान खतरे में है, यहाँ अगर कोई खतरे में है तो वह यहाँ का किसान खतरे में है। विदर्भ और मराठवाड़ा का जो सोयाबीन की उपज करने वाला जो किसान है, वह किसान सबसे ज्यादा निर्णायक रहेगा और उसका वोट सबसे भारी भरकम रहेगा। जितना मेरा आकलन है, मेरी पार्टी मराठवाड़ा और विदर्भ कुल मिलाकर कम से कम 15 से 20 सीटों तक जा सकती
Okay,
है।
ma'am, we are out of
कोकण में
time.
अगर हम देखा जाए तो
The
कोकण में हम कम
pundits
से कम
and the
6
netas
सीटें
have
ले सकते हैं।
spoken. Now it's time for the voters to speak. Super Saturday it will be. Everyone's anxious and nervous. They're all pretending that they know it all, that they got this under control. I can guarantee to you, let the cameras get turned off, and when you speak to them, they say, "Kya ho raha hai?" You say, "Aap batao." They say, "Hame pata nahi, aap batao." So it's a lot of anxiety in a way that there hasn't often been. I think the unpredictability of Haryana has induced additional uncertainty and anxiety for everyone. Rashmi.
Because, Rahul, even at the end of the day, not every poll is pointing in the same direction. If you look at 8 polls, there is 1 or 2 polls which have given victory. One poll, I think, which has given a clear victory to Mahavikas Aghadi. You've got about 3 polls that have predicted a hung assembly, and you've got about 4 polls which are giving a huge landslide to the Mahayuti. So that makes it even more fascinating because you're throwing 3 possibilities, not just one. It's not unidirectional at the moment, and we'll have to wait and see. And the interesting part is the polls done by the stringers and reporters for channels are all saying hung. The polls done by the psephologists or the pollsters, I won't even call them, are saying landslide. Okay. So it's a test battle between pollsters and reporters as well.